My dear friends, we gather here today to embark on a journey not outward, but inward, a journey into the very depths of our psyche, into the shadows that we so often flee from, and toward the person we are most afraid to become. This is the path of individuation, the core of my life's work, and the beating heart of analytical psychology. You see, the greatest and most terrifying challenge we face in life is not external. It is not the monsters that lurk in the dark, nor the trials and tribulations that the world sets before us. No, the most formidable opponent we will ever face is ourselves, or more precisely, the self we are afraid to become. But why, you may ask, are we afraid of becoming our true selves? The answer lies in the very structure of our psyche. We are not unified beings, but rather a collection of disparate parts. The ego, the personal unconscious, and the collective unconscious. The ego, our conscious mind, is but the tip of the iceberg. Beneath the surface lies a vast ocean of unconscious material, both personal and collective.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
The personal unconscious contains all that we have forgotten or repressed, while the collective unconscious is the repository of ancestral memory and archetypal patterns that are common to all of humanity. It is from this collective unconscious that our most profound fears and our greatest potential emerge. Consider, if you will, the archetype of the shadow. This is not merely our dark side, as some might simplistically interpret it. The shadow contains all that we have rejected from our conscious personality, all that we deem unacceptable or unworthy. But here's the crucial point. The shadow is not inherently evil. It is simply the parts of ourselves that we have disowned, often out of fear or social conditioning. To become who we're afraid to be, we must first confront this shadow. We must look into the mirror of our soul and acknowledge the parts of ourselves that we have long denied. This is no easy task. It requires courage, honesty, and a willingness to face uncomfortable truths about ourselves. But why should we undertake such a daunting task? Why not simply continue to live within the comfortable confines of our conscious ego? The answer, my friends, lies in the nature of the psyche itself. The psyche constantly seeks balance, wholeness, what I call individuation. When we deny parts of ourselves, we create an imbalance that manifests as neurosis, anxiety, or a pervasive sense of incompleteness. Think for a moment about the times in your life when you felt most alive, most authentic. Were these not the moments when you allowed yourself to be fully who you are, without pretense or fear? This is the state we seek through individuation, a state of wholeness, of integration between our conscious and unconscious selves. But let me pose a question to you, one that may unsettle you. What if the person you're most afraid to be is actually your truest, most authentic self? What if the very qualities you've rejected or repressed are the key to your fullest expression? This is the paradox at the heart of our journey. The self we fear is often the self we most need to become. It is in the integration of our shadow, in the acknowledgement and acceptance of all parts of ourselves, that we find true wholeness and authenticity. Consider the archetype of the hero. In myths and stories across cultures, the hero must face trials and overcome obstacles. But the greatest trial is always internal. The hero must face their own fears, their own shadows. It is only by integrating these shadow aspects that the hero can fulfill their destiny and achieve transformation. You, my friends, are the heroes of your own lives. The journey of individuation is your heroic quest. And like all heroes, you must face your fears, confront your shadows, and integrate the disparate parts of your psyche. But how do we begin this journey? How do we take the first steps toward becoming who we're afraid to be? The process begins with awareness. We must first become conscious of our unconscious contents. This requires introspection, self-reflection, and a willingness to delve into the uncomfortable parts of our psyche. Dreams provide a valuable gateway to the unconscious. They are messages from our deeper selves, coded in the language of symbols and archetypes. By paying attention to our dreams, by recording them and reflecting on their meanings, we can begin to uncover the contents of our personal and collective unconscious. Another powerful tool is active imagination. This is a method I developed to engage directly with the unconscious. It involves entering a meditative state and allowing images and scenarios to unfold in your mind. You then interact with these images, engaging in dialogue with the figures you encounter. This process can bring unconscious content into consciousness, allowing for integration and growth. But be warned, this journey is not for the faint of heart. To truly become who we're afraid to be, we must be willing to face our deepest fears and most painful truths. We must be willing to let go of our familiar self-conceptions and allow for the emergence of a new, more integrated self. Think of it as a death and rebirth. The person you thought you were must die for your true self to emerge. This is the essence of transformation, the core of the individuation process. It is a journey of dissolution and reconstitution, of breaking apart and coming back together in a new, more whole form. As we embark on this journey, we must also be aware of the archetypes that shape our experiences. The persona, the mask we wear in society, the anima or animus, our contrasexual inner figure, the wise old man or woman, representing wisdom and guidance. These archetypes are not mere abstractions, but living psychic realities that influence our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. By becoming conscious of these archetypal patterns, we can begin to relate to them more consciously. We can recognize when we're being driven by archetypal forces and make more conscious choices about how to respond. But let me ask you this. How often do you truly listen to the whispers of your soul? How often do you allow yourself to be guided by your deepest intuitions rather than the dictates of your ego or society? This is the crux of our journey. To become who we're afraid to be, we must learn to listen to the voice of our authentic self. This voice often speaks in whispers, in dreams, in moments of quiet reflection. It is easily drowned out by the cacophony of our daily lives and the demands of our ego. To hear this voice, we must cultivate stillness. We must create space in our lives for introspection and self-reflection. Meditation, journaling, time spent in nature, these are all practices that can help us tune into our deeper selves. But hearing the voice is only the first step. The real challenge lies in having the courage to heed its call. For often, this voice will urge us in directions that frighten us, that challenge our comfortable self-conceptions and the expectations of others. Remember, my friends, that the path of individuation is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming whole. It is about integrating all aspects of ourselves, the light and the dark, the noble and the base, the conscious and the unconscious. As we conclude this first part of our exploration, I urge you to reflect on these questions. What parts of yourself have you been afraid to acknowledge or express? What would it mean to fully accept and integrate these aspects? And most importantly, what is the cost of not becoming who you're truly meant to be? In our next segment, we will delve deeper into the practical aspects of this journey. We will explore specific techniques for shadow work, for engaging with our dreams and active imagination, and for navigating the challenges that arise as we strive to become our authentic selves. Remember, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and the journey to becoming who you're afraid to be begins with a single act of courage. The courage to look within and face what you find there. As we delve deeper into the process of becoming who we're afraid to be, we must confront a fundamental truth. The path of individuation is not a linear journey. It is a spiral, a cyclical process of death and rebirth, of dissolution and reconstitution. We may find ourselves revisiting the same themes, the same challenges, time and time again. But with each cycle, we gain new insights, new depths of understanding. Let us now turn our attention to the practical aspects of this journey. How do we engage in shadow work? How do we interpret our dreams and use active imagination? These are the tools that will guide us on our path to wholeness. Shadow work is perhaps the most challenging aspect of our journey. It requires us to confront the parts of ourselves that we have long denied or repressed. But remember, the shadow is not inherently evil. It is simply the unconscious aspect of our personality. It contains not only our darker impulses, but also our unrealized potential, our latent creativity, and our hidden strengths. To begin shadow work, we must first acknowledge that we have a shadow. This sounds simple, but it is a profound step. Many of us live in denial of our shadow aspects, projecting them onto others instead. Have you ever found yourself intensely irritated by someone, only to realize later that they embody traits that you yourself possess but have denied? This is projection at work. The key to shadow work is to catch these projections as they happen. When you find yourself having a strong emotional reaction to someone, whether positive or negative, ask yourself, what qualities am I seeing in this person that I'm not acknowledging in myself? This simple practice can yield profound insights. Another powerful technique for shadow work is journaling. Set aside time each day to write freely without censorship. Allow your thoughts and feelings to flow onto the page without judgment. Over time, patterns will emerge. You may begin to notice recurring themes, persistent fears, or hidden desires. These are clues to the contents of your shadow. But shadow work is not just about uncovering our darker aspects. It's also about reclaiming our disowned positive qualities. Perhaps you've repressed your creativity, your ambition, or your capacity for love. These too are part of your shadow, waiting to be integrated. Now, let us turn our attention to the realm of dreams. Dreams are the royal road to the unconscious, as Freud once said. But I would go further. Dreams are not merely the expression of repressed wishes, as Freud believed. They are communications from the deepest parts of our psyche, encoded in the language of symbols and archetypes. To work with your dreams, begin by keeping a dream journal. Place it by your bedside and record your dreams immediately upon waking. Don't worry about interpreting them at first. Simply record them in as much detail as you can remember. As you build a collection of dreams, patterns will begin to emerge. You may notice recurring symbols, themes, or characters. These are clues to the workings of your unconscious mind. Pay particular attention to dreams that evoke strong emotions or that stay with you throughout the day. These are often the most significant. When interpreting your dreams, remember that the symbols are personal. While there are universal archetypes, the specific meaning of a symbol in your dream is unique to you. A snake, for instance, might represent fear or temptation for one person, but wisdom or transformation for another. Trust your intuition when interpreting your dreams. Active imagination is another powerful tool for engaging with the unconscious. To practice active imagination, find a quiet place where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and allow an image to form in your mind. It might be a person, an animal, a landscape, whatever comes naturally. Once you have a clear image, engage with it. If it's a person or creature, speak to it. Ask it questions. If it's a landscape, explore it. The key to active imagination is to allow the scenario to unfold naturally without trying to control it with your conscious mind. You're not creating a story. You're allowing your unconscious to communicate with you. This can be a profound experience, bringing to light aspects of yourself that you were previously unaware of. But let me pause here and ask you a question. How often do you truly allow yourself to be surprised by your own psyche? How often do you give free rein to your imagination without trying to control or direct it? This willingness to be surprised, to encounter the unexpected within ourselves, is crucial to the process of becoming who we're afraid to be. For often, what we fear most is not what we know about ourselves, but what we don't know, the vast, uncharted territories of our unconscious mind. As we engage in these practices, shadow work, dream interpretation, active imagination, we begin to expand our conscious awareness. We start to integrate the disparate parts of our psyche. But this integration is not always a smooth process. It can be disorienting, even frightening, to encounter aspects of ourselves that we've long denied. This is where the concept of the transcendent function becomes crucial. The transcendent function is the psyche's way of uniting the opposites. It creates a dialogue between the conscious and unconscious minds, allowing for the emergence of a new, third position that transcends the original conflict. In practical terms, this often manifests as a creative solution to a seemingly irreconcilable problem. Have you ever found yourself torn between two choices, only to suddenly realize there's a third option that you hadn't considered before? This is the transcendent function at work. But the transcendent function doesn't just solve practical problems. It's also the mechanism by which we integrate our shadow aspects, our anima or animus, and other archetypal content. It allows us to hold the tension between opposites, between our light and dark sides, between our masculine and feminine aspects, between our mortal nature and our divine spark. This ability to hold tension is crucial to the process of individuation. It's easy to identify with one side of a polarity and reject the other. It's much more challenging and much more rewarding to acknowledge both sides and find a way to integrate them. Consider, for instance, the tension between our social persona and our authentic self. Society demands that we play certain roles, that we conform to certain expectations. But our authentic self may have desires, needs, or qualities that don't fit neatly into these roles. The challenge is not to reject either our social responsibilities or our authentic needs, but to find a way to honor both. This is the essence of becoming who we're afraid to be. It's not about rejecting our current self entirely, nor is it about blindly embracing every impulse that arises from our unconscious. It's about creating a dialogue between our conscious and unconscious minds, between our social persona and our authentic self, between our light and shadow aspects. As we engage in this dialogue, we begin to experience a profound shift in our sense of self. We move from a state of fragmentation, where different parts of our psyche are in conflict with each other, to a state of integration, where these different aspects work in harmony. This integrated self is what I call the self with a capital S. The self is not just the ego, nor is it the sum total of our conscious and unconscious contents. It is the organizing principle of the psyche, the archetype of wholeness and integration. The process of individuation is, in essence, the process of realizing the self. It's about aligning our ego, our conscious personality, with the deeper wisdom of the self. This alignment doesn't happen all at once. It's a gradual process marked by moments of insight, periods of struggle, and experiences of profound transformation. As we approach the end of this second part of our exploration, I want you to reflect on this question. What would it mean for you to align your life with the wisdom of your deepest self? What changes would you need to make? What fears would you need to face? Remember, the path of individuation is not about achieving perfection. It's about becoming more fully yourself, with all your complexities and contradictions. It's about embracing your humanity in its totality, your strengths and weaknesses, your light and shadow, your mortal limitations, and your divine potential.